How would you measure and monitor LLM drift over time? When we talk about drift in an LLM, imagine a guitar that slowly slips out of tune. It still plays, but the tone doesn't feel right. Drift works the same way. Over time, the model's answers start drifting from the baseline you trusted during deployment. The heart of monitoring is simply checking whether today's behavior still matches that original pattern. Interviewers like when you describe this as protecting reliability, especially in production systems where even small shifts matter. Think of a customer chatbot that suddenly gives shorter or slightly irrelevant replies after user behavior changes. You'd say you compare the new patterns to the baseline, track changes over time, and act before the gap becomes noticeable. Don't worry if this feels abstract. Once you see drift as catching early signs of going off key, the whole idea becomes much easier to handle. 4 key approaches to monitor LLM drift. A simple way to picture drift monitoring is to imagine 4 sensors working together. One watches output distribution, listening for changes in response length, token rhythm, or confidence, almost like noticing when someone speaks faster or slower than usual. Another tracks performance metrics such as accuracy or perplexity, giving you a clean health score over time. A third listens directly to humans, because user satisfaction often picks up subtle degradation first. And the fourth keeps an eye on the incoming questions, catching shifts in topics or vocabulary that may push the model off balance. In interviews, you'll often be asked how you combine these. A smooth answer is that drift becomes meaningful only when multiple sensors point in the same direction. For example, if token lengths shrink, perplexity rises, and users feel responses are less helpful, the pattern is clear. Together, these sensors give you a balanced long-term view. Complete LLM monitoring pipeline. Now let's bring these signals into one continuous pipeline. Think of it as a quiet guardian running in the background. It logs every input and output with timestamps, building a timeline of the model's behavior. Then, it calculates drift metrics like KL divergence or cosine similarity to see how far new outputs deviate from your baseline, like comparing today's handwriting to your original style. When those metrics cross a threshold, the system sends an alert so you can respond before users feel the drop in quality. Finally, a retraining loop updates the model with recent data when the drift becomes meaningful. Interviewers appreciate when you frame this as an early warning system that keeps the model calibrated. A practical example is a summarization model drifting every quarter as new financial jargon appears. A solid wrap-up here is simple: steady logging, clear metrics, timely alerts, clean recovery. Critical follow-up questions. Here's where deeper insight really shines. Semantic drift shows up when embeddings or topics shift direction, almost like noticing that a conversation slowly moves to a different theme. The difference between concept drift and data drift is another common interview point. Concept drift means the underlying relationships change, so the model itself must adapt. Data drift means your inputs shift, so you adjust pre-processing or features to restore balance. You may also be asked how you choose a baseline. A confident answer is that you capture stable periods, freeze their distributions, and compare everything back to them. Tools like NLflow or weights and biases automate the monitoring, but your reasoning matters more than the tool. And don't worry if this feels heavy. Once you've seen a few real-world cases, these questions become natural checkpoints in your workflow. Real-world implementation example. A helpful way to explain drift is through a simple timeline. In week 1, you set your baseline, almost like taking your starting fitness stats before training. In weeks 2 to 4, you check daily metrics, distribution patterns, and user sentiment to spot small shifts early. By week 5, you might see a 15% performance drop. That's your cue to trigger retraining. In week 6, you refresh the model using recent data. And in week 7, you validate that performance is fully restored. Interviewers love this because it shows you understand both detection and response. A relatable example is a product chatbot drifting whenever new features launch. So you use a 7-day rolling window to catch the shift and recalibrate quickly. The wrap-up is simple. Monitor consistently, alert early, and recover cleanly to keep your LLM stable. Great job learning today. If this helped you feel clearer or more confident for your AI or ML interviews, tap like so more learners can find you. If you want simple guidance for every interview topic, subscribe so you never miss the next lesson. You can share your questions in the comments. I read them, and they help me choose what to teach next. And if you know someone preparing for interviews, feel free to share this with them. Keep going. You're improving with every step. I'm here to help you grow.